Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Friday 13th December 2024 and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Skills deficit, a major issue for the Caribbean, says Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley believes regional blocs such as CARICOM will take on more prominence if there is a shift away from global trade. Ms. Mottley shared the view as she delivered the Michael Manley Centenary Lecture in Jamaica. She identified the skills deficit as a big problem for the region.
It's absolutely and utterly important for us as a region. It has not escaped me that after the demise of the Federation and as a transition from CRT, it was Michael Manley who in 1973, then having not been a part of CRT in the 1960s when Antigua, Guyana, Barbados and Trinidad signed the Free Trade Agreement, that it was Michael Manley who brought Jamaica into the Caribbean community with respect to the Treaty of Chaguaramas on the 4th of July 1973. Country by country by country, because of the aging and declining population, has in the region to contend with this issue. It is against that backdrop, therefore, there is going to be naturally many opportunities for young people. And the question is, have they been trained for the specific areas for which these opportunities occur? We, for example, have recognized that there has to be conversations with the university and other institutions to perhaps better tailor to the needs of our emerging economies, areas of activity that we cannot disregard.
Fraudsters getting more creative with online scams. Kalisha Williams of TVJ News reports.
The fake text message that has gone viral on social media, seemingly sent to many Jamaicans under the guise of a Christmas cash grant from Prime Minister Andrew Holness, or in this case, President Andrew Holness, which for many was the first red flag.
So this could probably be one of those initiatives that I may have missed in the news. I didn't hear about this, so I'm going to click on it to get my cash back as well. And it takes you to a site, it starts to download your information, and the rest is history. So we're going to see more and more of these types of attacks that seem legitimate, coming from legitimate persons. You do need to have a wary eye for it. Director
of Communications at MOCA, Major Baza Jarrett, was among a panel of experts at NCB's Brood for Online Safety Forum Tuesday morning. The forum was not only timely, but a necessity as many Jamaicans continue to lose millions of dollars to fraudsters and hackers. Between January to November 2024, Crime Stop said it has seen a 45% increase in tips related to fraud.
So we will continue to encourage persons, because there is that misconception that Crime Stop only takes information on guns and murders. We do take information on fraud. We do take information on scamming. And relating to scamming, we do see an increase in that as well. We see a 31% increase in tips regarding scamming this year compared to last year.
And human error is usually the weakest link. From weak passwords, people clicking on links from unknown senders, to scanning fraudulent barcodes.
This person downloaded the application, activated it, and then it disappeared. That's one of the first suspicious behavior. then in a few seconds, it's running in the background, meaning it's encrypting all of the data that's associated with this device.
And soon after, a ransom was demanded, or the individual would risk all their photos and videos being posted online. So Mr. Ebanks is warning Jamaicans to be careful.
93% of passwords used in brute force attacks are only 8 characters long. Meaning if you have an 8-character password, it can be brute force, it can be broken.
NCB has been on a drive to warn Jamaicans about scanning barcodes in ATMs. Now there is a concern about the barcodes being used to access menus at many restaurants.
Because you can scan a QR code when you go to the restaurant. Even when you're registering here, if you're a guest, there may be a QR code there. What they will do is print their own QR code and place it over that legitimate QR code.
So far, NCB said it has cleared up the backlog of fraud complaints it has received up to November 2024. And especially for the Christmas season, the company is advising customers to be cautious. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
A bill to remove the King as head of state of Jamaica tabled in Parliament. More in this TVJ News item.
In Parliament last week, Legal and Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahou-Ford signaled her intention to table the bill today, and she followed through. Mrs. Malahou-Ford said the bill will be reviewed by a joint select committee of Parliament.
The national items comprising the national emblem, the national flag, the national anthem, both lyrics and music, the national symbols, which are the national tree, the national flower, the national fruit, and the national bird, along with our national motto, the national pledge, the national song, lyrics and music, and the national prayer are included in the Constitution for the first time.
The bill also talks about how the president will be appointed. The Senate will also be expanded to include independent members, and the Electoral Commission of Jamaica will be entrenched in the Constitution. The opposition has welcomed the bill.
That in the processes that are outlined, that will continue this discussion, that we could find the common ground that will enable us to make the critical steps that are needed, and that in the main are not contentious. There are issues and there are areas of concern, but the goals and the objectives are not the same, are not contentious, and they're not different. We may have different timelines and how to proceed on them, but I believe and I'm still hopeful that in the discussions to come, we can find the common ground on which to move forward in unity.
The Latin America and Caribbean region's complex defense and safety issues are under scrutiny at the 2024 Caribbean Nations Security Conference, CANSEC, in Port of Spain. TTT's Terrian Brown Campbell reports.
Defense and security leaders from across the Caribbean are meeting at the 2024 Caribbean Nations Security Conference. The aim of the meeting is for these leaders to exchange ideas, identify security challenges, and find possible solutions for the region's security issues. Air Vice Marshal of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, Daryl Daniel, said the conference will address critical issues directly affecting the Caribbean, including its response to climate change.
The dynamic nature of today's security environment demands nothing less than unified, innovative, and decisive action. Over this period, we have the opportunity to delve into critical issues, such as countering multi-domain threats, responding to natural disasters, and reinforcing the tenets of women, peace, and security.
Commander of the U.S. Southern Command, SOUTHCOM, U.S. Navy Admiral Alvin Holsey, highlighted several of the issues facing the region.
The threats we've faced continue to evolve, and they've expanded over the last year since the last conference. Malign state actors are using disinformation to wedge into the Americas, obscuring truth, to increase their presence and influence. They pursue their objectives by leveraging advanced technology and engaging in cybercrime and corrupt practices.
And he called on the leaders to help gather peacekeeping force to assist Haiti.
We are collectively committed to keeping the region's waterways, including the Panama Canal, free, open, and prosperous. Authoritarianism is already here in our shared neighborhood and having devastating effects on driving irregular migration and encroaching on the sovereignty of democratic states.
The three-day conference, which will include plenary sessions addressing the Caribbean's response to natural disasters and countering threats on multiple domains, continues until Friday. Terry Ann Brown Campbell, TTT News.
A gang-led massacre in Haiti has killed nearly 200 people, mostly elderly, as violence continues to grow in the country. Jacqueline Charles, Haiti and Caribbean correspondent for the Miami Herald, joined CBS News to talk about the situation.
The White House is condemning a gang-led massacre in Haiti that targeted mainly elderly people. Nearly 200 people were killed. This is just the latest example of the growing violence in the country that has forced thousands from their homes, leaving many without food and other basic needs. So Jacqueline, first break down just exactly what happened.
Well, what we know so far is that a gang leader in Cité Soleil, who was actually part of this powerful coalition that tried to take down the government earlier this year, known as Vivre Ensemble, Living Together. His 6-year-old son was ill and subsequently died, but on the advice of a local voodoo priest, he was told that his son's illness was due to the elderly people in this particular area of Cité Soleil, which is the largest slum in the capital, an area named Waf Jeremy. So they went on a rampage starting from Friday night, well into the weekend. Even after the death, people were on lockdown. The numbers we've heard is as little as 110 to 184 plus. We still don't have a full accounting. People were shot, people were hacked with machetes, and then their bodies were burned.
It's just horrific. How is the international community responding to this? And what are people on the ground saying? I mean, there's very little that people who have very little means are able to do against these gangsters who have weapons. But oftentimes, as you know, Jacqueline, when things really get to a tipping point, oftentimes the local people do take to the streets themselves and try to retaliate against the gangsters. What have we seen?
I have to tell you, the day that we, as journalists, started to hear this, we were all in shock. And then the next day, on Monday, it was like the quietest day in Port-au-Prince. People were telling us, rather, a lot of people had not even heard about what happened. And I can tell you, as we speak right now, we are hearing reports of another massacre that happened just north of the capital in the Artibonite area in a small town. So, the violence has become just so untenable. But at the same time, we're not seeing the outrage. And even the government was very slow to acknowledge what had happened, in Port-au-Prince, which is right there. But this is just horrible. And a lot of people, outside, and even within, a sort of shock. I mean, you become just so numb to it, but at the same time, it's so horrific and it's so chilling.
Indeed, horrific and chilling. Jacqueline, always appreciate you coming on to talk to us about what's happening there on the ground. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.